Hello class, if you are viewing this video, then I selected for you to do the matrix grids activity for the colonial regions. The handout would look like this. Matrix grids to compare the colonial regions of the British colonies. We're ultimately going to be looking at two issues, comparing and contrasting the three colonial regions, essentially talking about how they are alike and different, and then answering the question of how big of a role did geography play in the development of the three colonial regions. Is it a major role or a minor role? So what I want you to do before we get into this handout, I want you to use the Colonial Life handout in your folders, and I want you to use this graphical organizer to fill out any important facts, characteristics, events that are unique to the New England colonies, the middle colonies, and the southern colonies. These can be people, groups, events, phrases, places, anything that's you think is unique to that colonial region, you should put it in there. Ultimately, that's going to help you compare and contrast them. You want to talk about the similarities between New England and the middle colonies, and the similarities between the middle and the southern colonies. And last but not least, we want to look at the similarities among all three regions. When you're looking at these three boxes right here, I want you to utilize the GIST method. And when you're doing the summary, I think you should stick to 20 words or less for these middle two. And for the one on the bottom, I think 20 to 40 words would be okay. I really just want you to get straight into the point as to why or what makes the colonial regions similar to each other. Leave these other boxes empty for right now. We will come back to them later. Another thing that you can use besides the reading handout to help you fill out these columns would be the word bank that I've given you as well. So I have this word bank, and it's split up into Jamestown, Massachusetts Bay, and additional terms. If it says Jamestown, Jamestown, Virginia is located in the southern region. So all of these, for instance, would be in the southern colonies column. Massachusetts Bay is located in New England, so this would be a good start for you as to what you should put in the New England colonies. Additional terms includes terms from the middle colonies, but also the southern and New England colonies. So it's going to be up to you to look at these events and look at these terms and try to organize them and categorize them appropriately. Once again, before you do anything, you should fill out this three-column chart and talk about the similarities between the colonial regions. Once again, trying to use the GIST method. Once you're done with this, I want you to go to the matrix grid handout, and I'm going to walk you through these instructions, showing you an example of one that was used for world history. So it says the process here, compare and contrast the three colonial regions, New England, Middle, and Southern colonies. You want to use your knowledge from the reading assignment, as well as review the review materials provided when you need it. Once again, we're trying to consider the following here when we're talking about alike and different, geography, and how big of a role that played. You want to consider the development of politics and economics, as well as cultural values and beliefs, as well as ideas regarding religion, social roles, mercantilism, education, and interaction with natives. Once again, you're filling in that graphic organizer with terms from the word bank. That's not all the terms. You should also use the reading handout, and if you need any more context, I would go ahead and use the chapters in the book that I put on the blog. Next, you're given two key questions to consider. These would be compare and contrast the three colonial regions, what makes them alike, what makes them different, and how big of a role did geography play in the development of the three colonial regions. Did geography play a major role, or did geography play a minor role? Your ultimate goal here is to place particular pieces of evidence from your chart along the horizontal and vertical axis to reflect what it suggests, what you suggest is the correct spot with regard to each question. So what should this look like when I'm talking about these axes or axes, I think it is. So this is a, let's see if I have it. This is one that was done for world history. And so the title would be Worst Jobs in the World Matrix. So for yours, it would be Colonial Regions Matrix. On the, what would this be? On the y-axis, instead of treacherous versus tedious, I would put geography colon major role, geography colon minor role. Right, so anything along this y-axis is going to talk about how big of a role did geography play in that particular term. On the x-axis, instead of putting difficult and disgusting, this is when you would compare and contrast the three colonial regions. So when you're looking at the term, is this a term that talks about how alike the three colonial regions are, or how different the three colonial regions are? So the y-axis, geography plays a major role, so put major role. Geography plays a minor role. On the x-axis, the colonies are more alike, so put alike over there, or are they more different? So you want to put different up here. So as you're plotting the points, you want to take in consideration both geography and the compare and contrast thing when you're deciding to plot it. So for instance, if a particular term was an example of how geography played a major role, then obviously it would go above the x-axis. It would go somewhere in one of these two quadrants. The next thing that you would want to determine is, so geography plays a major role, but is this an example of geography playing a major role that showcased or highlights a similarity between the three colonial regions, or a difference? So once again, after you determine how large of a role that geography plays, you want to determine, is this a similarity or a difference? And that's going to affect where you plot it on the line. The last thing that you want to do when you're plotting these on the line is that you want to give some description of that term. So you can see over here for each job description, they described what it was. So you want to go through, and if you put Salem witch trials, you would want to go ahead and give a short description, 1 to 2 sentences, of what the Salem witch trials were. After you're done plotting the terms from the word bank and from your graphic organizer, once again, I should not just see the terms from the word bank, I should see more than that. Also, using your textbook, you could look it up on the internet, but sometimes when you look things up on the internet, what I've found is that the websites you go to, they give you a lot of information, which is great. However, when you're trying to condense it down and just get to the gist of it, sometimes the key points get lost. So I'd really encourage you guys to use a textbook, because they give you a really short, condensed, and straight to the point idea of what is significant about that person, that place, that group, that event, or that idea. So I would once again really stress to you that your textbook would be your number one resource to use when you're trying to gain more context. And you might have to, and you probably should, double check with the textbook before making your plots on your axis or your axes. After you're done with that, you want to answer the following questions. What is the key reason for the similarities among these three groups? Explain your choice. What is the key reason for their difference? Once again, explain your answer. Do the regions have more in common or contrast? This would be not only for you, the graphic organizer, but you want to look at the terms on your matrix. You are more towards the right-hand side, where we had talked about that's where you would label the differences. If the more terms over here, then your answer should reflect that. If the more terms over there, then your answer should reflect that. So it really needs to make you really need to connect your answers back to your matrix. I should see some correlation there between what you've plotted and what you're writing down in these answers or these responses. Um, I hope that I've explained the instructions thoroughly. I hope that you're able to do this. I know that you will be. If you have any questions, feel free to go back to look at this and ask a neighbor or another peer that is working on the same activity. All right? Thanks a lot.